Я бы хотел представить нашего сегодняшнего гостя на кухне BBDO. Это Фил Рowley. Это Strategic Innovation Директор из PhD Лондон. Он работал во многих странах, он вам про это расскажет. В настоящее время он занимается стратегическими инновациями для клиента Unilever, который пока не наш, но которого мы очень хотим выиграть. Но, в принципе, вчера Филипп выступал на Red Apple, у него была своя сессия там, но для сегодняшнего выступления на BBDO Kitchen мы попросили его осветить другие темы, чтобы он не повторялся. Все, давайте поприветствуем. Все.
Спасибо. Привет, Москва. That's the only Russian I know. Okay, so I have two. Am I holding this at the right thing? Yeah. I have two presentations to give you. The first one is how to premiumize your brand in digital. I think this is quite interesting for Russia specifically because one of the things that I've learned from speaking to Dmitry from PhD and from Dennis is that perhaps the concept of premium is different in Russia. The concept of something being better than something else in media and how you achieve that in media is something that is new perhaps, or something that isn't done so often. So what you're going to learn about in this presentation is how to make your brand or your company seem much more premium, much more a better status, a better standard, a better class, just through using digital in a particular way, rather than just buying any old placement, rather than buying any channel and assuming that the environment will convey how good the product is. So, what you're about to see, therefore, is learnings from the UK and from US and from Europe about how brands that wish to convey a certain level of quality about their product, a certain premiumness about their product, how they convey that through their behavior in digital, in specific media channels, and the trends or the digital trends that convey that behavior. So let's define premium to start with. We can say that premium is about something that is expensive. We can say something that is premium can be superior quality. And we can say that something is premium is about aspiration. And, you know, we can think about jets and Bentleys and extremely expensive cars. But that doesn't necessarily what premium's just about, because the definition of premium is relative. So a Bentley is premium compared to an Audi because it's of better quality, it's more expensive, it's a better standard. But also Jack Daniel's is premium compared to any old whiskey that you can buy in a supermarket. So ultimately what we're saying is that premium is about defining a better offering versus your category. Because obviously a bottle of Jack Daniel's is £15 and Bentley is £150,000, but they're both still premium within their own categories. So it's about defining a better offering versus your category and versus the competitors that you are fighting against. So premium's not just about wealth, it's also about mindset. So if we are talking about supermarkets and we are talking about normal shops and not talking about expensive rock star lifestyles, what we know about premium, certainly from Europe and from America and from places like Australia and New Zealand, is it's not about wealth. It's actually that the consumer seeks a better experience, that's all. So they may upgrade their product purely on the basis that they want something better, providing it's affordable. This isn't necessarily about how much money is in their pocket. It's about how much they want to treat themselves or how much they want a better value product, that's all. So whether you're a £150,000 Bentley or a £15 bottle of Jack Daniel's, the media rules for how you treat your brand and how you make your brand seem premium versus your competitor is almost the same whether you are Bentley or Jack Daniel's or even a normal supermarket brand. So there are 5 ways that you can make your brand seem premium. whether it's a brand that people can afford or whether a brand that people can't afford. And I'm going to go through those 5 ways now, 5 behaviors and 5 trends. The first thing is that premium brands ruthlessly govern their environment. Now, I know from speaking to some people in the industry is that it can be difficult in Russia, particularly with display advertising, for instance, to control your environment. You have no idea where your placement is going to be. You have no idea where your banner ad is going to be or your social ad. So all the more reason, really, therefore, to make sure that you ruthlessly govern your environment, make sure that you know where your advertising is going at all times to ensure that it doesn't appear in a context that is not favorable. So it's about where you are and it's about what you say. So whether your goal is exclusivity, whether you want to appear as if you're so premium that there are very few people that can have access to your products, or even if it's a premium product that you want a lot of people to buy that could be in a supermarket, you still must use context as the differentiator. And again, we know that's difficult to achieve, perhaps in the Russian market, but it is still something that you should always strive for. Premium brands think about the company that they keep. So that's really what I'm saying there is we have this thing called the presenter effect, where we put a picture of a dress in a magazine, a cheap magazine, and say to people, how much do you think this dress is worth? And they say £159. You take the exact same advert and you put it in a premium magazine and you say, how much do you think this dress is worth? And people say, we think it's worth £223. And the picture of the dress has not changed. All that's changed is that you've put it in a better magazine. So the act of putting it in a more premium position, in a better context, in a better environment, in a place that looks better, people automatically assume that the dress is more expensive and that the dress is better. So think about where your advertising is going. And also, premium brands make sure that they align with authentic partners. So that means that their media placement, and in digital we're talking about pre-roll, or the websites that they appear on, or their digital outdoor locations, or their digital partners, and the people they get into bed with, as we say in English, the people who they are a partner with, whether that be sponsorships, content co-creation, or digital conversations, all the time, as a media agency and as a creative agency, you should be saying, where are we going? Who are we next to? What effect is that saying about the brand? Does this convey that the brand is better than its competitors, or is it just the same as its competitors due to its environment? And the way that we do that is we make sure that we have scrutiny, authenticity, and accountability to ensure that our advertising is placed in the correct positions at all time to convey that premiumness, to convey that quality to everyone. So demand quality and visibility and accountability on all your placements. When you've booked your digital, make sure that you go through the campaign reports and ensure that you've appeared in the right places and that you've got the right screenshots. And know where your brand is going at all times. Don't appear on a horrible website next to some awful content if you want to convey that you are a better brand than your competitor. But that doesn't necessarily mean choose the most expensive media that you can find, obviously, because that would be very costly. It just means cut out the stuff that you think is of poor quality. Because if your ad appears next to poor quality content, if your ad appears next to poor quality imagery, if your ad appears on a website that is not pleasant, then people will get the wrong impression. And in the UK and in the US and in Europe, that means blind networks from a digital perspective, where you buy something and you don't know where it's going. You can't do that. That means cost-efficient networks where you can't guarantee that your placements are premium. Don't do that either. And ill-defining your target audiences, making sure that your target audience is exactly correct. This is another way of ensuring that you appear in a premium environment. And also, team up with websites and partners and TV stations and outdoor placements that borrow the premium nature from the placement itself. So look to forge deeper relationships with your TV channels. Look to forge deeper relationships with your websites. Look to form deeper relationships with your partners like Yandex to ensure that that they are fully aware of what you are trying to communicate, that you are a better product than your competitor, that you might be premium. The second thing that premium brands do is that they generate what we say credentials before a campaign starts. They build a reputation by mouth or by word of mouth before any advertising takes place. So what we know from a little bit of brain science is that the first communication that you see with a piece of advertising is usually the strongest. It's usually the one that you remember the most, and it's usually the one that the impression of the advertising is the most effective, the first placement. So the more premium and the better standard your product is, and the better impression you wish to give, usually the more research a consumer wishes to do. And therefore, we talk about this effect called priming stimulus, which means effectively the first communication that you make has got to be the strongest communication that you make in terms of establishing your position and establishing your brand values and establishing why you are a premium brand. One of the learnings we've got from hair care on Unilever, the client I work on, is that you've got two potential approaches. We have what's called the mass approach here. And along the bottom here, we have influencers, early adopters. These are people who come to technology early. These are people who understand technology earlier than other people. And the old approach was to just halfway through the people who are technologically advanced and advertising halfway through. What we do is we take what's called the diffusion approach on the right there, and we target people who are technologically advanced, who understand technology more, who are more likely to have a smartphone, who are more likely to have an iPhone, and target those people because they are also the people who are likely to spread it socially. So if you wish, as we say on the previous slide, to establish your product as a good product, as a better product, as a product that has a higher standard, then don't forget to target those people who are what we call influencers and early adopters. Because the act of targeting people who are advanced technologically conveys a better standard for your brand. This chart has not come out properly. That's interesting. There should be some boxes on here. Okay, so what we're effectively saying, if you could see this chart properly, is that a seeding phase is going to help you establish the difference. So what we mean by that is, obviously we can have our TV stations and our outdoor and all our other channels, but what you would be best doing if you want to establish a premium reputation for your brand is to start seeding with influencers first, as I mentioned on the last graph. Talk to people who have social influence, who are early adopters of technology, who are likely to propagate your message more effectively before the main campaign cuts in. Make sure that the first communications are the strongest with people who are the most influential and the people who usually have access to the best digital technology because they are more likely to share those opinions rapidly. And you can build your reputation through influence this way. So when you are accessing these people who are what we call early adopters and have access to technology, and we are accessing these people who wish to spread your message about how premium your brand is, we can do this in a couple of ways. The first thing is we can take our target market for our product and we can find a sub-audience of that product, an inside audience of that product, who are themselves influential. And we can get your PR teams to brief these people. The second thing you can do is if your product requires industry endorsement, so for instance toothpaste, you may require endorsement from dentists. You want dentists to say how great your product is. Or if it's hair, you want your hairdresser to say how great the product is. Target those during that first phase to ensure that your reputation builds before the main campaign kicks in. And last, independent product reviews. Places like Amazon and TripAdvisor and other websites such as this where reviews count. Again, generate that kind of information, generate those kind of things before the campaign starts so that when people start seeing the main campaign, they've already had their first communication, and that first communication was the strongest, and that strongest communication said, we are a premium brand, we are better than our competitor, we are of a higher standard due to the way that we are communicating with you. And then when you get that endorsement through reviews, like on TripAdvisor and Amazon, and when you get that industry endorsement, for instance, through dentists or hairdressers or car salesmen or whatever, turn that endorsement, turn that review, turn that good sentiment, and reversion your creative to carry those reviews. So we see a lot of films these days pre-screening to people who then go on to Twitter to tweet about how great the film is before the main advertising for the film starts. So it's built a reputation in advance of the advertising starting. And this is what we are saying here. Reversion or remake the positive sentiment that you get, turn it into advertising. 3, and this is one I cannot stress enough, and one that major brands get wrong, is make sure that the assets that you create, the adverts that you create, the online banners that you create, the outdoor placements that you create are of the best quality. Because if they are not quality, why will anybody think that your brand is better than your competitor, is a premium brand, is a brand of better status? So the first thing on digital that we always recommend our clients to do is make amazing banners and make amazing social posts, because otherwise people will not take your brand seriously and not pay extra money for a brand. So that means usually format. This is a Burberry example here. It's not the one with Taylor Swift, it's the one above and below here. These are banners that expanded, that had film in them, that had audio, that you could click on, that you could drag. They were beautiful banners that worked very, very well, rather than some small shitty banner at the bottom of a screen, half hidden by the fold. That's not premium behavior. That's not how you communicate you're better than your competitor. So, visually rich storytelling and filmic appearance. Big, your banners must be big, because nobody pays attention to banners these days. Click-through rates are falling, so make sure that they are sizable. And make sure you deliver the brand experience at the point at which they are seeing that banner. Now, I know what people think. Well, that's going to cost a load of money. You know, amazing banners, the production costs are very high. Well, they don't have to be. Obviously, we have at the top there our interactive billboards, and they are expensive. But just at the bottom there, in terms of this goes from high investment to low investment, getting an Instagram post right, getting a social media post right, for instance, on Facebook or Twitter, it's something that brands get wrong time and time again. Make sure, if you want to convey a premium status for your brand, that your photography and the quality of the picture is as best as it can possibly be. And the example there in the middle I've used is, I don't know if everybody remembers this Brad Pitt Chanel ad about 2 or 3 years ago, where he looked at the camera and was being all sexy. This was something that was encapsulated in a banner and looked very premium, as Chanel you would expect from Chanel. This is something that I won't go through now, is that when this presentation is sent around afterwards, these are 4 examples that you can click on to see some really nice premium banners in action that convey the quality of the brand just through the technical and quality level of the asset itself. And also, we have a rise of something that we call the visual web. So that means, you know, the internet started off just being a lot of words on a page, and gradually became a lot more pictorial, or used a lot more pictures and a lot more images and a lot more high quality images. And the rise in mobile means that happens even more, because text is difficult to read when it's small. So Burberry, who are considered to be quite a premium brand in the UK, are using Vine. Now, Vine is something that, you know, anybody can use, but Burberry are using it. And again, they're using it with the great effect to create very, very good quality assets. So you can still deliver quality across social media to make your brand stand out. Premium brands are doing it on Vine, on Instagram, and there may be some Russian equivalents, and it's mobile optimized. So please don't think that mobile means that you can't convey quality advertising for your brand. 4th, premium brands provide authoritative, info-rich experiences. What we mean by that is this. When you have a product, this is a Unilever product, by the way, called Zendium. It is a very expensive toothpaste that is scientifically does incredible things to your mouth, okay? Because it's got a lot of science behind it, because it's different, It does something that it restores your enamel on your teeth. That means that given that your product advertising should be what we say copy light, not have lots and lots of words on it, because premium means that you need to be very, very beautiful in your imagery, that you will need a website or a social media hub to explain the reason why the product is of better quality. And so that means that a lot of what we call owned assets are very, very important in a premium advertiser, because people need a lot of information about the product to understand why they should be paying more for it. And that means that you can create assets that, or create advertising that when clicked on leads you back to a website, leads you back to a social media hub, leads you back to somewhere where they can find out more about the product and understand why it is premium and understand why they should be paying more money for it. And so 3 potential other digital media channels that can help you achieve that. Always on search. So make sure that if anybody is searching for more information on the product and why they should pay more for it and why it's justified that it is 1 ruble more expensive than its competitor, that search, and you have your paid search there to capture those terms and to capture those searches. Second, retargeting. So this is something that I assume that we can do in this market. We can certainly do it with Google. So we see someone who's clicked on a banner and we follow them again and we show them that banner again, knowing that they clicked on it. And thirdly, native advertising, which I think is something which you'll see growing in 2016 in Russia, which is advertising which natively integrates into its environment to make it seem not like an advert. 5, again, something that premium brands neglect to do, that don't do, some of them, and they should. And that is this, is that premium brands elevate tech and mobile within their strategy. The number of brands who wish to convey a premium nature or convey why they are worth more money, who don't use mobile, who don't use technological platforms that are more advanced. There are brands that do that, and they shouldn't. The thing about mobile, and we know that the penetration of smartphones in the urban areas of Russia is obviously quite high, I think around 60 to 65%, rural probably a lot less. But we know that with mobile phones dropping to, in some cases, $25 for American dollars for a mobile phone in 2016, that penetration is going to get a lot better. And so, and a phone is a permanent accessory. People take photos with it, they shop with it, they chat with it, they use it as a mirror on public transport. And social and mobile, certainly in the markets that I'm familiar with, are integrated seamlessly. So premium brands must remember that mobile is not something that you do at the end of the process, it's something that you do at the beginning of the process now, in order to convey that you're a premium company, because you are using technology properly. So the first thing is, how do we do that? Well, we learn to love the feed. This layout on smartphones is going to become the standard layout for all digital advertising very, very soon. Certainly, this is the way that we advertise on Facebook currently. This is, you'll recognize as Instagram. It's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, native mobile optimized sites. They all carry scrollable vertical feeds. And it's worth remembering how you integrate your advertising into the feed, the scrolling feed. So ensure that when you make your creative, that when you filmed your TV ad and you think about your outdoor placement and you think about the banner, think about how it will fit in a mobile phone, and don't think about that last. Think about it probably first, and pick some visually striking imagery. This last point here where I say avoid 300 by 50 banners, that's something that is not unique to the Western market, but the small banner at the bottom of the mobile phone is of no use anymore to us. And it's something that we are requesting that creative agencies don't make, because nobody's clicking on them at the moment. The other thing is, when you have a mobile phone, is to remember that it's not just a mobile phone. You can use the fact that it is mobile to your advantage. And so social targeting, because as I said, mobile phones and social as mobile phones increase in their penetration are effectively the same thing. A mobile is a social device. You can use social targeting to ensure you're hitting the right people with a mobile phone. You can use geographical and time-band targeting, so you can find out where people are with their phones at any one time and talk to them with the right message in the right way at the right time. And last, if you are trying to convey a sense of premiumness and exclusivity, then use the phone's functionality and use the phone's modes to make sure that you can give people access to something that they may not ordinarily be able to access. So for instance, coupons or money off coupons, or even access to secret places or access to secret locations, which you can convey on a mobile phone to give your brand a sense of specialness. And so the summary of all of these really is this, and I'll just go through them all again. So premium brands, if you want to make your brand seem worth extra money, if you want to make your brand appear better versus competitors, if you want to make your brand and your product seem exclusive and premium, then the 5 things you should do are: 1, govern your environment. Make sure that you know where your placements are at any one time. Make sure that the context is correct. Demand visibility on all of the places where your advertising goes. 2nd, gain prior endorsement. So talk to people, or make sure that your first communication are with people who are technologically savvy, savvy is not the right word, technologically adept, and have their mobile phone and are influential and have access to social, so that they spread the message themselves before the advertising starts. 3rd, make sure that your assets, your advertising, is of the best quality it can possibly be, is big, is bold, is beautiful, both on desktop and on mobile. Provide a better experience for those who seek more information about why your product is better product, and that means websites and social hubs. And last, make sure that you convey how cutting edge and better your product is by using technology and better technology than your competitor. Thank you. Apparently I have a 15-minute break, but I'm also can answer any questions, if anybody has any, but I am told that Russian audiences tend not to ask questions. I don't know whether that's true or not. Yeah, it's true. Okay, so 5-minute break, and then the other one? Okay. Okay, so second presentation. This one more exciting for you, I think. This is about 6 things that are going to be big in digital and technology and trends and media in 2016. I put the below sentence into Google Translate. Apparently it's sort of correct, so thank you, Google Translate. So, the things that you're about to see in the following slides are things that are going to be useful in 2016, not 2026. I think that a lot of high-tech presentations talk about things that are of no use to you in the short term, that you're not going to be able to do anything with. So the technology that you're about to see and the digital things that you're about to see, they're available, they actually exist, they're affordable, they're usually within budget, and they're actionable. That means that you can do them. What that means is no driverless cars in this presentation, no drones in this presentation, and no 3D printing in these presentations, because you can't do it, it's too expensive, and I can't imagine any of your clients will say, well, hey, let's do some 3D printing. That's not going to happen. Nor driverless cars, nor drones. So everything you'll see, hopefully, are things that you can do. So what you will see is we're going to be talking about how everything is becoming much more digitized in life. We're going to be talking about how creative and digital creative is becoming much more advanced. We're going to be talking about how brands are embracing what we call native advertising, which there may be already examples of here in Russia. We're going to be looking at why you shouldn't necessarily just look to the UK and the US and Europe for your inspiration, that you should also look to Africa and China and steal their ideas too. And we're going to look at why influencers are important. And last, how to prepare for the rise of virtual reality. So the first thing is that I suppose that out of these 6 things, they're things that you should at least start thinking about, at least have consideration for when you're devising your strategies, when you're devising your creative, and when you're talking to your media agencies. They should be things that you should at least begin to think that you can put into your innovation strategies to impress your clients. And the first thing is to realize that brands know that everything will be digital soon. And this seems like a really obvious point, but it's a point that brands neglect or forget to do on a regular basis. In 2000, we obviously had the internet there, and the online world just consisted of exchanges of information, so just email and basic web pages. But now, in 2016, we see things in the offline world also become digitized. Things like Siri is almost a mobile personal assistant to us. We have, coming soon, digital payments and currencies. We have Apple Pay in the US and the UK already, and Bitcoin. And also the Internet of Things. You can control your heating from your mobile phone. You can control your lighting in your house from your mobile phone. You can monitor the status of your car on your mobile phone. So instead of the standard replacement for a book or a telephone, we see that digital will be involved in every aspect of people's lives in 2016. And that is reshaping economic models. So here's 3 examples of how that digitization being in the real world rather than just online has changed things. First of all, we have this scheme in the UK called Zipcar, which means that you don't actually own the car. You use your mobile phone to find where it's parked. You use your mobile phone to unlock it. You get in it, you drive it, and you drop it off somewhere, and then you shut it with your mobile phone, and you never see that car again. You've just hired the car. Second, things like Airbnb cut out what we call the middleman. So traditionally, an industry like travel agent, which existed in the UK, a travel agent shop on every street, people who would book your tickets, who would book your airline tickets, who would arrange your hotel, they don't really exist anymore because things like Airbnb means that they don't need to exist. You do everything directly. And last, Spotify. Again, I have a Spotify account. I don't own any of my music. I rent my music. If I stopped paying Spotify, they would take my music away from me. So new economic models. Online is becoming offline and offline becomes online. And this might seem like an obvious point, but things are going to steadily follow this trend. So the point really is that the mobile phone is the thing that unlocks all of these items. So Zipcar uses a mobile phone. Airbnb uses a mobile phone. Spotify is something that you listen to on your mobile phone or your smartphone. Siri, Apple Pay and Nest, the Internet of Things heating, they all need the mobile phone to control. The mobile phone or the smartphone will soon be the access to everything in life, not just online, but also offline. It will be like a television remote control that controls everything. So what you should do about that, well, think about whether your the brands that you work on and the clients that you work on, are they really up to date with this fact? Are they really up to date with their consumers' digital habits? Are their communications mobile optimized? Are they exploiting these new behaviors effectively? And does your client's business model, is it threatened or is it going to be changed by the result of everything becoming digital? Not just online, but digital becoming real in the offline world as well. The second point is that brands will advance their creative in 2016. We're really going to see some brands doing some fantastic things in digital. The old way of doing things, and I'm not sure whether this is the way that things are done here, is that you would make your television commercial and then you would shrink it down to a banner, make it small into a banner, and then you would make it small into mobile. And what effectively is you would have poor mobile banners that were a smaller version of the normal online banner, which were a smaller version of the static version of the television commercial. What we're trying to get Unilever to do in a mobile world, in a world where smartphones are the way that you access everything in life, is to make mobile the first thing that you design and then scale that up to a banner and then make that big into a television commercial, so that you do it exactly the opposite way round, because it has to work on mobile first. The number of TV commercials we've seen where clients have said, I'll get my TV commercial, I'll put it on YouTube, and YouTube is available on mobile, therefore I've done mobile advertising. That isn't mobile advertising. That's a television commercial that just happens to be on a mobile. And often you can't see it, it's too small, and the words are too small. So think about putting mobile at the start of your creative process. Make ads for smartphones, don't edit old ads and try and shrink them down to smartphones. And certainly the rise of what we're calling the phablet, which is half phone, half tablet, so very big phones effectively, means that there will be need to make your creative work on these devices. Also banners. I know that there are a lot of banners advertising in Russia, but it perhaps doesn't work as popular as search does. But partly the reason why that is that banners can be rubbish to look at. And I think we're going to be seeing the old style banner replaced by banners that can do much better things for the client and therefore be used more. So for instance, the rise of HTML5 means that banners can be a lot more technically advanced, do more things, be more attention catching, make people sit up and take notice of communications more. Companies like Trending means that live information can be inserted into a banner. It can give the football results, it can give the weather results, it can give stock prices, to make sure that the banner becomes more than just a picture that people ignore and scroll past. It's a piece of information that lives in real time. And last, we can start using context and contextual banners so that the banner copy changes according to its circumstances very, very quickly, are things that are going to make the advertising banner a lot better than it is now. A banner is something that I think has a lot of bad attitude towards it, but only because it's done badly. And these developments can change that. Also, don't forget that I think, again, with mobile and with desktop, we're increasingly seeing physical movement interacting with adverts. So your mobile phone has an accelerometer, which means that it switches picture depending on whether you go left and right. It has voice control, it has a webcam, it has geolocation. And think about integrating all these things into your mobile advertising rather than just shrinking the banner down and sticking it on the phone. So what you should do is really work out, with the increase in penetration in smartphones, particularly in urban areas like Moscow, work out how you're going to exploit, or how you're going to use the fact that smartphones are going to be more, you're going to see more of them. Think about how your advertising will work on a mobile phone, and I don't just mean, as I said, cutting down your banner into a 300 by 50. Think about how you can integrate into the way that the device is used in everyday life and exploit that fact, rather than just using it as a place to stick an ad. 3, brands will go native. I'm not sure how much native advertising there is in Russia at the moment, but we'll start with this quote. "Nobody reads advertising," says this man, Howard Luck Gossage. "People read what they want to read, and sometimes it's an ad." What that means is tap into people's interests in content, not their interests in advertising. Provide things that people are going to be interested to read. So, given the rise of mobile in 2016, native is going to be vital. What is a definition of native? Or let's try. It's an integration of high-quality branded content into the natural experience of a platform, usually mobile. Here's some examples. Editorial integration with BuzzFeed. Do we have BuzzFeed here in Russia? No, okay. Tinder. Do we have Tinder? You're laughing. Why are you laughing? Tinder, again, that is an ad in the middle of swiping left and right for a hair gel. natively appears. So you're going, oh yeah, don't like him, don't like him. Oh, what's this? Advert for hair gel. Integrated into the natural experience of a platform. Spotify, Coca-Cola make their own Coca-Cola playlists, indistinguishable from other playlists that sit on Spotify, Coca-Cola selected tunes. And last, Amazon.com, amongst their listings, if you typed in, I don't know, coffee machines, then some of the adverts within those, some of the responses within Amazon will be paid for, but they will look like the natural recommendations of Amazon around it. So native is ever more important given the limitations of traditional mobile ad placements. And as I've just mentioned, mobile is going to be incredibly important. And the benefits of it is it combats concerns over display on mobile and makes mobile more impactful. Secondly, fact, that it creates higher recall and lift in propensity to purchase. So people, if they see an advert within the natural experience of a platform, when they see it in Tinder, when they see it in Amazon, when they see it in Spotify, naturally appearing, they remember it more. And last, if you have your own website or if you have your own ad and you want to integrate that in native, it means that you can get the reach for that ad within native. So what should you do? Well, you should do more of it. And these three pictures here are probably the best way of representing it: the chameleon, the clownfish, and this thing on the end. They are perfectly adapted to their environment. Think of the way that you make your advertising fit into its environment, the way that these animals fit into their environment on mobile. Think about using Spotify and Amazon and Tinder and BuzzFeed and all the things that exist on mobile, and think about not sticking the ad there. Think about how you integrate the ad into the natural context. So when you're thinking about your social and your display, think native as well, and think about it early in the creative process so that when you're designing everything up, you can find a way of making sure it all fits together. 4, brands will prepare for new media models. This is interesting. I think there's a tendency, and you may disagree with this, somebody said it to me this morning actually, that Russia, for instance, may always look west for its inspiration. What are England doing? What are the UK doing? What are South America doing? Well, actually, in the future, you should be looking north, south, and east as well. I'm sort of giving the game away by here, saying that the UK and the US don't have all the answers in media. So it's worth knowing that there are going to be maybe 1 billion users joining the internet, not next year, but certainly in the next 5 years. And the development of, say, $25 smartphones means that by 2020, 80% of the world will have a smartphone. And that means consumer behavior that is new, that is not like the UK, that is not like the US, that is not like Russia, that is not like Australia and New Zealand or India. New ways of doing things, and that means new ad models as well that haven't even been invented yet. So let's take China, for example. Here's the stuff that China do that the UK and the US can't do and won't do. First of all, they have something called multi-channel planning, which I think there's been some explorations to in Russia, where you don't buy your TV and then you buy your digital. You buy your TV and your digital at the same time, and you optimize between them depending on which one is performing better. Second, a lot of TV shows in China have digital inside the format. They film extra stuff live and then put it on the digital website. So in other words, digital and the TV are hand in hand. They have branded zones on their social media channels, for instance WeChat, where brand representative live chats with users. We couldn't possibly get someone from Unilever to do that in the UK, have somebody from Axe deodorant sat on a social channel waiting to talk to its consumers, but they do that in China because people in China want that. And last, in China, every touch point has a path to purchase. QR codes are something that we don't use in the West, but QR codes, you know what I mean when I say QR codes, they are massive in China and are deeply integrated into social media, deeply integrated into the functionality and the way that the phone works. They still love their QR codes, which to me is mental. So will the next billion people be Western or Eastern or digital or something else? And you as a country, constantly looking in one direction, should be looking in every direction to see where your inspiration can come from. And we know that China have got some really interesting media models, and we know that Africa also have some really interesting media models as well. So don't assume that what's in the West heads east. It might be the other way round. So look in all directions for new media models, and ensure that any strategy that you're creating might be adaptable to a model that isn't Western, that might actually be adaptable for an Eastern model. You may, in 3 or 4 years' time, need QR codes. I can't see it happening, but it's an example. 5, brands know influencers are the new Hollywood. I've mentioned influencers when I was talking about how to premiumize and how to get an influencer to talk about your product in a premium way if it was a product worth paying more money for. Here's 2 examples. Millward Brown, it's a research agency in the UK, said that while influencers can't compare to TV in terms of their reach and their size, it was far more effective at shifting consideration and other metrics. So in other words, people who did see an influencer were more likely to have a changed opinion as a result of seeing that influencer. Again, in China, Fan Bingbing, she tweeted selfies wearing a new piece of H&M jewelry every day. H&M saw sales go through the roof. This girl, Zoella, who's a UK vlogger, talks about makeup and other boring stuff, has 14.3 million video views and 84 million minutes watch time monthly. And she turned up to a public appearance recently and was mobbed like George Clooney or Taylor Swift or something. People fighting to get near her. So the thing about influencers which is interesting, and sorry you can't make this chart out, but prior to the internet, fame, as we would describe it, famous people were restricted to actors and musicians and sports stars at the very, very top of the tree. And they weren't accessible by brands usually, only with brands with a lot of money. But now, because of the internet, it has democratized fame. And that means there are people like Zoella making videos in her bedroom that can reach 14.8 million people. And you as a brand, or you as somebody who's looking to find an avenue for your brand, can pay less but still have access to people like Zoella and influencers across the internet. So the fame is what we say is scalable. It doesn't have to be expensive anymore. And that means there are more opportunities than ever before for your brand to be integrated with an influencer. And what that means that you should do is look to see, or look to make long-term relationships with the biggest and not only the biggest, but people who are about to become famous in Russia. And find the influential voices in your brand's sphere. Find them and make deals with them now while they are still affordable, because you can get the reach with an influencer. Last, and probably the most sexy, which is brands are getting ready for virtual reality. I know that seems quite futuristic and a long way off, but it is something that we are going to see change over the next the next year. 2015, virtual reality came affordable. 2016, it will become accessible. Oculus Rift over here is about £400, which I think is about 40,000 rubles. But Google Cardboard cost £3, which is only 3,000 rubles. People can afford that, and it uses a mobile phone. So we have YouTube 360, which again is free, but brands aren't using it anywhere enough. So next year, some brands have already started using virtual reality already and doing it cheaply as well, not incredibly expensively. Audi are using it to have virtual reality test drives on their glasses. Mountain Dew are using it to do their extreme sports footage, and also films like Star Wars. Star Wars released the new Star Wars, The Force Awakens, released their app last week, and with Google Cardboard you can walk around the planet. You only need a smartphone and a piece of Google Cardboard for 3,000 rubles, and you can walk around the new Star Wars film. What you should do about that, think about getting on board, I use this analogy, while the ship is still in the harbor. Virtual reality is about to become accessible to those with a smartphone and affordable to those with a smartphone. So think about your brand as a world What aspects of your brand are immersive? What aspects could you turn into a universe that people could explore, that people could search around and could look around? And interestingly enough, because something like Google Cardboard is so cheap, you can give it away for free in order to get people to access the content. There was, I don't know if I should say this, there is an adult website, I think everybody knows what I mean when I say adult website, that recently made some films in virtual reality that had lots of people with no clothes on, and they gave away their goggles or their Google Cardboard for free so that people could access that content because they knew that nobody would be able to do it. And their usage went through the roof because they'd given it away, because they knew that just for the sake of £3, they could get all those users back. So think like a porn site, basically, and give away a Google Cardboard for free, potentially, to get people to get access to your content. So if we were to summarize all of that, what should you be doing in 2016? Well, the first thing is realize that digital, certainly in the West and will be coming to Russia, everything will soon be digitized. So even though smartphone penetration is still a little bit behind, think about how you're prepared. Is your communications, or are your communications mobile optimized? Is your creative as good as it can be? Second, look closely at native. Is it here in Russia yet? Is it at the right size yet? Is it scalable? Think about how you can be more integrated, like the camouflaged animals, the chameleon that we saw with your communication. Third, don't just look towards me. Don't just listen to me about what's happening where I'm from. Talk to the Chinese, talk to the Africans, talk to everybody, because your model, when you eventually change, when Russia becomes much more digitized and integrated, is not forced to be like the UK and the US. It might be more like China. So look to China as well. And fourth, find some online friends. Who will be the voice of your brand online? Who will be the voice of your advertising online? Will you be able to find the next Zoella and the next Fan Bingbing before they become famous, and do it in an affordable way and get them influential online people behind you? And five, just simply ask yourself this question. Is your brand ready for the future? Thank you.